focus on the Air India crash of AI-17. The investigation into the Air India flight crash in Ahmedabad has intensified, with both the Indian and US teams working to piece together the final moments of the ill-fated aircraft. The black box, along with its component cockpit voice recorder, has now been recovered. A joint team led by the DGCA is closely examining the aircraft components, while the US and UK teams are conducting an independent probe under international protocols. Meanwhile, a crucial meeting on civil aviation security was chaired by the Union Home Secretary. The meeting brought together top officials from civil aviation, home affairs, disaster relief, intelligence agencies, forensic experts, and even the Indian Air Force.
Please tell us, and what did you see there?
We saw what you guys can see.
Now we couldn't see it because we were not allowed in there.
It's just the same as you guys can see from here.
There are 22 officers of Treasury officer rank. They have been put, and a team has been formation under their command, so that that there are issues related to financial tasks, there are issues related to their inheritance, their financial accounting things, insurance things. So for that matter, state government has constituted 22 different teams, so that it should be hassle free. 230 teams ऐसी हैं जो उनको constitute इसलिए किया गया है कि जब उनका पूरा का पूरा डिटेल्स हमको मिल जाता है, तो हम जो बॉडी हैंडओवर करते हैं फैमिलीज को, उसके लिए गाड़ियों की व्यवस्था करना, कंसर्न विलेज जहां तक है वहां तक जाना, क्रीमेशन तक साथ में रहना, और क्रीमेशन को किसी भी तरीके की उनको कोई परेशानी ना हो, उसके लिए बनाई गई.
All right, now remember, this is taking up ramifications, and as far as the ongoing investigation is concerned, the cockpit voice recorder has been recovered. Earlier, the flight data recorder, the FDR, had also been recovered. Now, both of these black boxes are going to play a very significant role in terms of piecing together those crucial moments before the crash of AI-171 actually took place. Both these black boxes will now put together some very credible evidence, that is also if there is data that has been recorded, and whether or not these black boxes are in a condition to provide that kind of evidence. Remember, the magnitude of that catastrophic air crash is what everybody's been now raising concerns about. But what we can tell you is that there's a multi-pronged investigation which is very much underway. At the same time, the Special Secretary to the Prime Minister, Dr. P.K. Mishra, the Principal Secretary to Prime Minister Modi, visited Ahmedabad to also assess the entire situation following the recent plane crash. His visit, of course, has reinforced Prime Minister's directive to ensure swift relief and a thorough investigation and comprehensive support for all of these victims. We all know that DNA sampling is very much on as we speak, and it is the high temperatures at the time of the crash which has also complicated the entire process of DNA sampling. But for more inputs, let's quickly go across to Arunima, who's joining us live on the broadcast. Arunima, first give us a sense of how this entire investigation into the Air India crash has now taken up, it's become a multi-pronged investigation. You also have international bodies involved.
Yes, so the DGCA is the lead agency in this probe. The AAIB, which is the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, they are looking at the causes for this crash, but they are being assisted by the United States National Transport Safety Board. There are officials, experts, aviation experts from United Kingdom, because this flight was bound for Gatwick near London. Also, Boeing sent their experts as well. This Dreamliner belonged to Boeing, so the company has a lot at stake. There are questions that are being raised about the safety of Boeing's aircraft, so they are part of this probe as well. In any way, if they can assist the investigators, they are willing to do that. Of course, there are other Indian agencies too. For example, the NDRF and the NSG. NDRF was helping with finding the human remains like they do in any disaster. NSG was given the task of finding if there is any cause to believe that this was sabotage. NIA was also there for the same reason. So there are multiple agencies which are on ground across the world, there are agencies which are cooperating with this probe. And apart from this probe that's happening on the ground, there's a committee set up by the centre as well, which has just concluded its meeting, headed by the Union Home Secretary, Secretary Civil Aviation, Secretary Gujarat Government, the BCAS, Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, DGCA, Intelligence Bureau, disaster management officials. They all sat together, and the information that we have is that a decision has been taken to review the standard operating procedure if ever this kind of a situation arises again. They're also looking at the information that is already available by way of the various theories that are doing the round. So complete monitoring of the investigation, complete overhaul of the SOP is on card, and there is a possibility that the committee could visit the crash site as well.
All right, stay with me, Arunima. In fact, we're getting in some very crucial breaking inputs. All right, before we bring those breaking inputs, important to highlight the fact, as Arunima was talking about, that this is one air crash which is bound to have international ramifications, not just because of the sheer magnitude of that catastrophic air crash, but also because of the several foreign passengers that were on board. In fact, let's deep dive into this entire air crash. And joining me on the broadcast is CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan, who will bring us more perspective.
The tragedy left all of us shocked. How is it that a Dreamliner that was just taking off at 625 feet would just crash down? There were many who tried to blame the pilots. Now, there is a video that's emerged that was perhaps one of the first videos that was shot by a youngster, we are given to understand, that actually gives the sound of a different motor or a turbine that is actually working, not just the aircraft's engines. From there emerges this entire aspect of RAT, or the Ram Air Turbine. Not the Ram Aviation Turbine, but the Ram Air Turbine. What is the Ram Air Turbine? What is its function? Is it present in every aircraft, or is it a feature for some of the bigger aircrafts like the 787, Boeing 787 Dreamliner? We have Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar joining us. Captain, thank you very much. Can you first explain to our viewers what is RAT?
RAT is actually, it's called Ram Air Turbine, which is as a backup system for a power generation. It is there almost all the commercial aircraft. It is the last resort, I would say, when all the power generation fails in the aircraft, which includes your generators, it includes your, the APU, that is auxiliary power unit. So it's the end result. After the RAT comes the batteries. So this is basically, it's in most of the aircraft, it is deployed automatically, but in some aircraft like Airbus 320, you can deploy the RAT manual also. But 787, it is deployed automatically. When it senses there is no power generation.
There is no power. So we just go back to that frame behind this. It is somewhere behind.
Yes, it is behind the landing gear. Yes,
behind
that's what
the
is
landing gear.
Yes, that's
it's right behind
on the right hand side of
and
the.
And how does it actually look? It looks like a propeller.
It looks like a small propeller with a with a fan in front of it. Basically, that is getting the drawing the air from the free air, and that propeller is turning, and which in turn is generating the power, and which goes to the central system.
So it works like a generator.
It's like a generator. Yeah, it's like just like a windmill. Our windmill, we in Hindi we call it the pavan chakki something. Exactly on the same principle, it works like that.
It works like that. Absolutely. What does it do? What does it do? If you look at
what it does at that, when it generates, it's basically a turbine which is being driven by air at a very high speed.
High speed.
Yes.
So let's say this was at just 625 feet. Now we've just tried to create an animation. Okay. This was the Boeing aircraft, the AI-171, that took off, and it reached a maximum height of 625 feet.
Absolutely.
And that's where this entire RAT actually was seen as deployed. This is where it is, the Ram Air Turbine, not the aviation turbine, but at 625 feet. Had the aircraft been a little higher, would this have helped save the tragedy or prevent? Could it have helped the pilots?
Yes, absolutely. Well, looks like to be, because aircraft was heavy with full fuel. It was taking off with a full all of weight. So had there been a bit more of I would say the height availability to, because Ram Air Turbine, when it even if it generates power, it gives power to the 787 central power system. That is the that drives the flight controls and basically all the critical systems available. But that itself, but the power generated by Ram, the RAT, is only for temporary till the time the APU comes on. So APU takes around 60 to 90 seconds.
What is APU?
APU is auxiliary power unit.
Auxiliary
which you
power
see on the tail, you see that cone is there.
Yeah.
No, that is not that. Yeah, this is the one.
This
Yes,
is the auxiliary power
unit. Yeah,
Okay.
the exhaust is there at the tail end. Yes.
Right.
So that comes on the moment the power generation loss is there in 787. The moment all the there are 4 generators, 2 on each engines.
Right.
So every engine has got 2 generators. So all 4 if fails, auxiliary power unit engine automatically starts up.
Automatically start. I just for our viewers just want to show
this drops down.
So this drops down. This is the rat. Looks like a propeller and a turbine.
Yes.
It just
So
and you're
both
saying
of
in
them.
787 it automatically drops.
Both the things automatically in both it starts automatically. But what I was reading through the documents, it takes 60 to 90 seconds for the APU to. It's an engine. It takes time.
Okay, let me just quickly ask you. You've flown the A320 also.
Yes.
That's the Airbus. In
Yes.
that, is this rat
Absolutely
there in
same.
every aircraft?
That's correct.
Most of the aircraft. But you're saying you in the A320 or an Airbus or any other aircraft,
A320 you can deploy manually.
manually.
Yes.
You deploy manually.
There you cannot deploy manually.
Here it is not deployed manually. It is deployed automatically.
As the moment it senses loss of all generator
Okay,
power.
let me ask you. I was coming to you there. What are the circumstances that this will get deployed?
So this will get deployed whenever the sensor senses there is no power generation going to the AC buses.
There's no power generation.
The moment power generation, this will drop down and the APU will start automatically. But APU will take 60 to 90 seconds. In the meantime, what happens is this, because this comes down not 6 to 8 seconds, because there will be total blackout. So when the blackout means not for the cabin, it blackout for all the displays of the pilots. It takes 5 to 6 seconds. The powers of the displays, the communication, the controls, the basic minimum requirement, critical systems. The moment the APU comes online, the APU takes over from the
When does a power suddenly go off? Does that happen when both the engines fail?
So it is, see, the thing is the generators develop power from the engines. So the moment the engines run, it gives power. It's an engine driven generator.
Yeah.
So from there, the GCU called generator control unit, anything can fail. The generator itself can fail, but if the engine fails, definitely generators will fail because they are drawing power from the engines.
Okay, now viewers, this is critical. This deploys within 6 to 8 seconds.
Yes, that's what
But
I
you
was
say that the APU, the auxiliary power unit, takes 60 to 90 seconds.
Seconds to come online.
But the eventuality here at 625 feet was that takeoff to crash, the whole duration was just 44 seconds. So that was not enough time for the APU to kick in.
Yes, no, I saw the crash photograph of the tail section. I saw the input, the air intake for this APU is on top. So it was top of the fuselage. That air intake door was open. It means that the APU had started, but it took time for APU couldn't come online.
It's too late. So let me
late.
ask you, this is at 625 feet.
Yes.
Had this been, say, about 1500 feet,
100%.
Could there have been perhaps a chance to
100%.
turn back and land?
Absolutely. See, the moment APU comes online, it will take over the complete power generation. It is sufficient to give. The primary, what I would feel is that the people are saying there is a fuel starvation. Now, when you take off in a Dreamliner or any engine, basically, in a Dreamliner, there are 3 tanks. There is one left tank, one is right tank, one is central tank. The central tank utilizes the fuel for the takeoff. So the fuel goes from central tank. But unfortunately, the ram air turbine RAT connection is not directly to the center. It doesn't give power to the central tank fuel pumps.
Central tank fuel pumps.
In emergency, it gives the power to the one pump in each left and the right wing tank.
So what happens from here on, we've just frozen this, is that because it was at 625 feet, even though the RAT had deployed, clearly that means there was an engine failure, dual engine failure that had happened, but there was not enough time for the APU to kick in, and there was not enough elevation that even if there is a little bit of drop in altitude, the aircraft or the pilot can recover the aircraft, turn around and land it, because it was just 625 feet. A gap of, say, about 90 seconds of time had it been there for the whole crew. 60 to 90 seconds, had it been there a little more
that
or some
again, it doesn't answer the engine failure. The aircraft will still go down.
The aircraft could have gone, because if there was
aircraft still go down. There is no, the power would have come in, but there is no thrust in the engine. The aircraft still will go down.
The aircraft will still. But is it possible could it have been that it could have glided back and somewhere come back?
Absolutely, depends.
And it depends. Now, as a pilot, let me ask you, when you are about to take off, or let's say you land at a destination, what kind of checks does the aircraft go through? And is there an indicator of something is wrong?
At the landing?
At landing and before the next flight.
No, in case
between
anything, you
flights.
see, these days they are a very high technology, high advanced aircraft. Everything is computerized. They've got backup computers also as well. Anything which is there with the computer senses, it comes up on the screen. Any caution, any malfunctioning also is known to us in the air or on ground whenever it happens. Now it depends upon the criticality of that malfunction.
No, I'm just saying soon after takeoff for engine to fail.
It will definitely
So something like that, how rare is it, or how much of a possibility is it?
See, the possibility is very less, the rarest of the rare, both engines getting filled. We are trained, every 6 months we go to simulator, we are trained on single engine failure at the time of takeoff. That is the most critical time when the aircraft is about to lift off, and then we have one engine failure. All the aircraft are tested, proven and released for online for only when they can take off with single engine with full all-up weight and clear their gradient, the climb gradient. Otherwise, they will not be cleared for commercial flying. So, even with one engine, 787 Dreamliner is sufficient. With one engine power, full power, it would have taken off safely.
So then let me ask you, in your experience, what is the possibility and how is it possible that an aircraft is able to taxi out, covers the entire journey of about 5-7 minutes. It's running on fuel, its turbines are on, and it is burning aviation fuel. It comes up the tarmac, comes up, and then as it takes off, there is engine failure. Now, what is the possibility and what can trigger it?
So, the possibility of dual engine failure is bird hit. That if you fly through the flock of birds and simultaneously, like what happened in the US Airways, that's one, but we didn't see any birds over here. We don't know. The second possibility, which I feel, is the fuel contamination, because the fuel starvation, not contamination, fuel starvation.
Fuel starvation, yes. Not contamination. You're saying fuel starvation. That means that there was not enough
starvation because of the contamination. Maybe it's not. Fuel is available in the aircraft. There is no,
it was actually carrying 2 hours of additional fuel according to some reports, and that's why the explosion happened, because it was fully
initial explosion what you saw, and what the black smoke was of fuel. Anything which after that burns, that is electrical wiring, it's all white smoke. So initial smoke, what black is of fuel. Yes. So now,
and the plumes of smoke that we saw after crash showed that it was there. It had a whole lot.
Yes.
So now what do you mean by fuel contamination or fuel starvation?
Fuel starvation means that the fuel is there, but it is not going to the engine. So either the fuel lines are ruptured, or the fuel lines are blocked because of the water contamination, or some air bubbles, or something which is blocking the fuel line. The filters are blocking something which is blocking the fuel from going from the tanks to the engines.
Okay, so allow me to please push you here as a layman, as somebody who's done air travel. One of the things that happens is that when the aircraft is out and it's pushed back, the pushback has happened. It happens manually because there is this. But then the turbines start kicking in, the engines start kicking in, and there is a huge amount of aviation fuel that is burnt, even with the taxiing off, getting onto the runway, and then the takeoff. So how could that happen if there was fuel contamination or filters?
Yeah, I got your point. I tell you, the aircraft which are fly 320. Initially, during the startup, right, both the engines get their fuel from their respective tanks. I'm not aware about the 787 Dreamliner. 320, they get individual from the wing tanks. They get individual fuel. But at the time of the takeoff, because to avoid single engine failure because of any fuel starvation or something, the center tank provides fuel to both the engines. Simultaneously. So that the possibility of single engine or left or right engine getting fuel starved or something fuel, that is ruled out. Single point of this is also in the Dreamliner, the center tank which is in the fuselage, that supplies initially for the takeoff, that supplies fuel to both the engines. So because that delivering is at the higher power. Basically the fuel from the center tank is used first so as to avoid the wing loading.
But if there was any contamination...
So if there is any contamination in the central tank, that will lead to... That's what my theory is.
But won't the computer systems flag it off? That if there is a filtration issue, if there is a water issue...
Should. I'm just saying what exactly... No, the water issue is...
Or air block or...
that will... I don't think so. But I'm not aware, I'm just saying. So, but what I get see from my experience from Airbus 320, Dreamliner, generally it is more of the same. Okay? So what I can, I'm not saying it, again the FDR data will actually tell what I can see from the notes and what I have read, and is that center tank is delivering pressure more pressure than the wing tank. So at the time of the takeoff, only center tank is giving the fuel to both the engines.
Yeah, so you would be very keen to understand whether or not there was a fuel starvation or some issue there that enough fuel was not going, because of which the engines failed.
That is the reason when you have the both, in case the fuel is being used by respective engines from the respective wing tanks, then if something contamination takes place, then that side engine will fail. Both engines failing simultaneously, I feel that because that is sure, because the center tank is being used for the takeoff, and that is why the RAT is also not able to provide the power to the center pump.
So RAT does not provide power to the central fuel pump.
Yes.
That is one thing that and this is a case in all aircraft.
This is the case in Dreamliner Amsterdam.
In the Dreamliner. So you're saying in the Dreamliner the RAT does not power the central tank.
RAT is an emergency thing.
Emergency.
It cannot power everything. So RAT powers. See, every tank has got two pumps, right? The left, the right, and the center. The one primary, one backup. So RAT supplies primary in both left and right. It doesn't supply in the center. That is the thing. Center requires.
And in this case, in the matter of takeoff, it was the fuel was coming from the central.
That is what as per the documents, yes. Also, the central power system, the retracts the landing gear, the flaps, and everything. So that requires the major. That's electrical divot pump. Central power system.
But we are all talking about technical issues, engine issues, or equipment issue.
Right.
For some time, the pilots were being blamed. There were other experts also who tried to blame the pilots. What is your point of view here?
See, that is the first thing which comes to everyone's minds.
कि पायलट ने कुछ गलत किया होगा.
Absolutely, pilot की गलती होगी. Because you know what happens. Everybody sitting behind, I would say they put their life on the pilot's hand. Well, you don't know what's happening inside the cockpit. The pilot command, the captain, he has the responsibility of his crew and passenger on his shoulders. The first thing comes, pilot की गलती होगी, but we are trained, everybody's trained. You don't get to fly Dreamliner just like that, right? So you have to have a very experienced to fly a wide body aircraft.
Yeah, Captain Sabharwal had more than 8,500 hours.
I've got 9,000 hours of flying.
Yeah,
but you have to have a very experienced pilots go to the training for, because the demand and the flying a Boeing or flying a wide body aircraft it's a demanding thing, right? So it's not correct to say that pilot would have done something. Yes, most of the aircraft, the accident happened during landing phase, wherein the error of judgment takes place at times. But till the time the inquiry is over and what exactly come out, then it's too premature to say. It's premature to say.
In the case of landing, you may, like you said, there could be an error of judgment.
Absolutely. What happened in Bangalore crash and other crashes?
Yeah, error of judgment. In this case, it was takeoff.
So that's
and the captain and the co-pilot had 10,000 hours of flying between them. And for somebody to say, oh, he pressed the wrong lever, landing gear nahi uthaya, kuch idhar kar diya, is that humanly even possible?
There is another theory I would see that I was reading another one. When you took the landing gear up, so the Boeing 787 landing gear first goes a little bit forward and then goes inside. So one YouTube channel I was saying that I also, I took notice to that. It had gone slightly ahead. So I believe the initiation of the landing gear up would have initiated at that time. It was in the process of going when you have the engine loss, and because that is the central power system of 787 utilizes this, the hydraulic
So is that a
system.
pilot error then?
No. There's engine loss at that time. He couldn't have done. That's one thing. I think it got stuck at that place. That's why the flaps also couldn't, whatever.
Yeah, the flaps were also upward.
I saw the wreckage photograph, and there in one photograph I could see the flaps positioned down at some 5 or 10 degrees. So it is very. I'm saying that the inquiry will tell what exactly has happened. But I would say what the document saying, how the fuel, how the RAT operates, how does the engine fuel system takes place, and what exactly goes to the.
Questions are also being raised about the Dreamliner itself, its safety and all of that, and where you would file about certain aircraft. In the last 12 hours, we've got about 6 or 7 such cases of turn back, technical issue and all of that. Is it because it's just getting heightened at that moment?
That's exactly the thing. See, what happens is sometimes you have some technical failures in the aircraft, but depends upon what nature. Like for example, example, some navigation not working properly, some communication, some electrical, that you can say that's not of something which is affecting the safety of the aeroplane. So it is laid down that what all things which you require immediate assistance or maybe turn back, anything to do with the engines, anything to do with the hydraulics required immediate land. But minor issues like some switch not working or some navigation, then you can say we'll sort it out in our base. But now with the regulator on top, and now because of this, so generally we don't report in the sense we go back and we tell the technician this is not, because that doesn't affect the safety of the aeroplane. The moment anything affects the safety of the aeroplane, that is one thing which immediately is flagged and immediately is transmitted.
But is there something that perhaps could have been flagged out by the computer systems if there was some contamination, some error in the engine system?
I have limited knowledge on the what is the we call.
No, but I'm saying, say, in your experience in the A320, if there is something wrong, does it get
fuel
flagged?
pressure? No, it will not say.
Or are you able to understand with the gate of the aircraft itself while you're taxiing onto the runway that there is some? No, it's not possible.
It will only come to know when there is a fuel pressure dropping also.
That's
the fuel pressure drop or fuel flow drop, that is the one which is being sensed.
So somewhere Captain Sab Bhatnagar is saying that what caused the engines to fail, therein lies the answer to what happened to AI 171. Back to you, Akanksha.
Many thanks to you, Anand. And with that, we have some breaking inputs coming in. This is with regards to the Financial Action Task Force. Big announcement, in fact, coming in. FATF has officially criticized the Pahalgam terror attack in a statement that says that terror attacks kill, maim and inspire fear around the world. The FATF has noted with grave concern and has condemned the brutal terrorist attack in Pahalgam on 22nd of April this year. This and other recent attacks could not occur without money and the means to move funds between terrorist supporters. A big statement coming of a condemnation and in fact also calling out the money laundering involved behind the Pahalgam terror attack of 22nd April this year. Remember, that was the turning point for India's own doctrine and the fight against terrorism emanating from Pakistan, which is when India also launched Operation Sindoor. And it seems that India's multi-party delegation efforts on the global stage are finally paying, because in the latest, what we can tell you is that that statement coming out of FATF has condemned the attack, and not just condemned but also exposed the terror funding behind Pahalgam terror attack. Madhuparna joins me with more inputs. Madhuparna, if you could shed more light on the FATF statement that's just come in.
Yes, this has been really a big update on the global fight against terror finance. The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, has officially condemned the deadly Pahalgam terror attack on April 22. This is really a very rare and pointed statement from this global watchdog. And I quote, the FATF notes with grave concern and condemns the brutal terrorist attack in Pahalgam. This and other recent attacks could not occur without money and the means to move funds between terrorist supporters. This part of the statement is primarily very, very significant, as the officers in the government are telling us. This is actually the first time when the FATF has directly referenced the Pahalgam strike, and this is also a signal that these financial enablers of terror are firmly back in global focus. FATF knows it. India has been pushing hard behind the scenes to get Pakistan relisted on the grey list, citing continued support for cross-border terror networks. And with this statement, New Delhi is likely to see it as a moral and diplomatic opening for India.
But when you talk about Financial Action Task Force as an institution which has been time and again cracking down on terror funding, important to highlight how the FATF has supported India in the past as well, primarily when it comes to the arrests of the Mumbai terror attack masterminds, whether it was Hafiz Saeed or even Sajid Mir, and Pakistan being on that grey list of FATF was also attributable to India's past efforts.
Yes, FATF has also stressed a shift from just frameworks to outcomes. That is also very important, So they have said that FATF has enhanced their focus on the effectiveness of major countries that they have put in place, and it has also identified the gaps. So their own evaluation. That is another important, we can call it a moral victory for our government. And from social media abuse to all these kind of crypto laundering kind of stuff, FATF warns that modern terrorism is evolving and so must a global check. So these things are the very crucial things that FATF has stated in its recent release. And at a recent counter-terror finance summit, the FATF president also issued a stark reminder about this kind of terrorism. So he said, I quote, terrorists need to succeed only once to achieve their goal. We must succeed every time to prevent it. In fact, for India, that message could not be clearer, and neither could its next move on the FATF stage.
Absolutely, and this is indeed a major shock for Pakistan, because remember, just a day ago it was being reported that Pakistan was boasting about how FATF has ignored India's attempts to place Islamabad on the grey list. But having said that, if you could shed more light on when is going to be the next FATF plenary, also how will India take this forward with the Financial Action Task Force?
These kind of meetings are developing things, and we will get to know when it happens. But this is clearly turning the table for us, for India, and kind of efforts that our government are pushing for the past few months. It actually yielded some results.
Absolutely. In fact, what we are learning is that the FATF plenary year begins in July and ends in June. So the watchdog is holding its plenary meetings usually in October, February and June of each year. Many thanks to you, Madhuparna. Here's hoping that this may just mean more breakthroughs as far as India's efforts to call out terrorism emanating from Pakistan. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5 as we return with the latest news and updates.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Tensions between Israel and Iran escalate. The Jammu and Kashmir government has also set up 24/7 control rooms to assist distraught families. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah on Sunday spoke to External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar over safety of the Kashmiri students. The Chief Minister said that the External Affairs Minister had assured him that the ministry is in close contact with their counterparts in Iran and will take all necessary steps for the safety and well-being of students in the country. With around 1,300 Kashmiri students enrolled in Iranian institutions, their families are making urgent appeals for evacuation. The Congress, in the meanwhile, has called the Ministry of External Affairs to implement a coordinated evacuation plan to bring students home safely. Listen in.
मैं पहले वीडियो में भी ये जिक्र कर चुकी हूँ कि हमें एज सुन एज पॉसिबल इवैक्यूएट किया जाए, बिकॉज एट दिस पॉइंट हमारे जो भाई हैं तेहरान यूनिवर्सिटी के जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, उनकी बॉयज डॉम के नज़दीक ही हमला हुआ है एंड दे हैव ऑल्सो बिन अफेक्टेड बाय द अटैक, और कुछ जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो जख्मी भी हो गए हैं. सो वो हालत हमारी भी ना हो जाए उससे पहले प्लीज हमें इवैक्यूएट कर दिया जाए, क्योंकि इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे ना हमें वाटर सप्लाई है डॉम की, ना नेट, इंटरनेट इज वेरी वीक, इंटरनेट बिल्कुल भी नहीं चल रहा है, ना मैसेज जा रही है, ना आ रही है, ना प्रॉपर्ली कम्युनिकेट कर पा रहे हैं हम किसी से भी. और ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट अभी शायद इलेक्ट्रिसिटी भी चली जाएगी और उसके बाद हमारा वाईफाई भी डाउन हो जाएगा, जिसपे हम अभी थोड़ा बहुत इंटरनेट चला रहे हैं, और उसके बाद हम शायद बिल्कुल भी कम्युनिकेट ना कर पाए.
अच्छा जी, इस वक्त क्या हालात है तेहरान में और ईरान के और हिस्सों में? भारतीय मूल के लोग बताए जा रहे हैं कि उनको इंडियन एम्बेसी ने एक जगह आने को कहा है और वहां से कुछ इवैक्यूएशन की बात की जा रही है, नॉर्थ की तरफ लेके जा रहे हैं. जरा उस बारे में बताइए, और पिछले 2-3 दिनों में जो कुछ हुआ है उस बारे में थोड़ा बताइए.
हाँ, 2-3 दिन से तो अटैक चल रहे हैं. 2 दिन पहले रात में 3:30 बजे से अटैक चालू हुआ है इजराइल का ईरान पे, और अभी तक अटैक कंटिन्यू चल रहा है. दोनों साइड से अलग अलग सिटीज में है, क्योंकि मेरे सारे दोस्त भी हैं बहुत सारे जो इस्फहान में है, मशहद में है, उरूमिया में है, तबरीज और किरमान वगैरह में है, तो वहाँ भी अटैक कंटिन्यू हो रहा है. एम्बेसी कोऑपरेट कर रही है. आज से एम्बेसी ने कहा है कि हम लोग सोल्यूशन निकालेंगे, और कुछ बच्चों को मेडिकल वाले हालत, जिसमें मैं नॉन मेडिकल बैकग्राउंड से, मैं लिटरेचर बैकग्राउंड से, तो हम लोग का आज कल बोल रहे हैं कि 5 बजे मॉर्निंग में एक स्पेसिफिक जगह पे पहुंचने के लिए। तो देखते हैं कल वहाँ पे पहुंच के उन लोगों का क्या प्लान है। अभी तक कोई ऐसा डिटेल नहीं बताया, बस किसी का बताया कि वहाँ पे जाने के पाल के जा रहे हैं।
तो सिर्फ तेहरान में पढ़ रहे बच्चों का
It's 3 days and counting with no end to the military conflict between Israel and Iran. Israel has expanded its military targets, striking key oil and gas facilities in Iran, raising fears of economic warfare and regional destabilization. Panic has now gripped Tehran, with residents fleeing the capital amid uncertainty. Sunday saw at least 13 casualties, including children, and hundreds injured in Israel. Israel has defended its strikes as self-defense against Iran's nuclear ambitions, while Iran's retaliation has been met with fierce condemnation. Now, Israel claims that it has achieved aerial superiority over Tehran and has control of skies from western Iran all the way to the capital, Tehran. It has also said that the Israeli Air Force has destroyed a third of Iran's ballistic missile launchers. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has warned of unprecedented military force if Iran retaliates against American assets, while Britain has moved jets to the Middle East in preparation for contingency operations. Listen.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
Now remember, CNN has been tracking all the latest developments ever since Israel began its strikes on Iran on Friday. CNN's Jerusalem correspondent Jeremy Diamond saw streets littered with debris as rescue and military personnel searched through rubble at a scene that appeared to have been struck by 4 ballistic missiles. Here's a CNN report.
I'm at the site of an Iranian ballistic missile attack in central Tel Aviv. This ballistic missile struck this area in the early hours of this morning, severely damaging 3 residential buildings right behind me. As you can see, in this whole street is littered with debris as rescue crews move in and out, still trying to assess the damage, to find anybody who might be trapped under the rubble, and also to get people out of their apartments. There are also folks who have arrived here to try and get back inside to get some of their belongings and to make sure that their loved ones are okay. This is one of 4 ballistic missile attack sites in central Tel Aviv alone. In addition, there was a ballistic missile attack in northern Israel, in Haifa as well. More than 70 people were injured in these attacks, according to Magen David Adom, Israel's national rescue services. And of course, we are seeing that these attacks are continuing to escalate, and concern is rising here in Israel about the number of casualties and how many more may come.
CNN's also reporting from Tamra, a village in northern Israel that's inhabited by predominantly Palestinian citizens of Israel, where multiple civilians have been killed. This after an Iranian rocket struck their home. Here's a CNN report.
You can see the scale of the destruction as a result of the impact of that missile hitting, and it really extends down the block. And in many ways, this strike, it really gets to not just the tragedy of this conflict, but also the complexity. This town, Tamra, is a Palestinian-Israeli town. And there was social media video online last night, verified by CNN, that showed people from a neighboring town actually cheering as they saw those missiles coming down onto Tamra. They could be heard rejoicing, "May your village burn." And it's important to mention as well that we've also seen videos on social media of Palestinians cheering as missiles rain down near the city of Tel Aviv. And we spoke to a priest, Father Huri, who told us that he believes innocent people are losing their lives because of the actions of bad leaders.
We want all of them to sit on the same table and to sit like brother, sons of Abraham, and to say it's enough, because violence calls violence and blood calls blood. It's easy to know how to start wars, but only God knows how it's going to finish.
Shortly after we finished talking to Father Khoury, the sirens went off again and we were ushered into a shelter in the house across from the Khatib family home. And the woman who lives in that house, who witnessed and lived through what happened last night, visibly shaken, crying, trembling, deeply fearful for her life. The all clear has been given. People are getting back to the work of cleaning up, and it's going to be a big job.
CNN's Nick Robertson reports on the aftermath of the deadly Iranian missile attack in a residential area in the central Israeli city of Bat Yam. The death toll in Israel from overnight strikes has now risen to over 10 as emergency workers on the ground continued their search and rescue operations.
There was a barrage of Iranian missiles came in. One of them, we saw a lot being intercepted, but as I looked to the horizon in this direction last night, I could see a huge flash, and now we can see below us the destruction. I mean, just looking at the ground here behind me, you're seeing kids' toys. This is a residential neighborhood back in the apartments behind us. I know, Neville, if you can pan back up again, here you can see the destruction, but I'm joined by police spokesman Dean Elsdon. Dean, tell us what you're finding here and what you're still in rescue and recovery, right?
Absolutely. The efforts of the rescue efforts are still extensive, still ongoing. This is the result of yet another barrage of rockets targeting our civilian populations. I do want to say that the civilian discipline of the population, the Israeli population, to listen to the home front command, to find protected shelter is what's saving so many lives. But when you see
six people here were
the
killed.
number is very dynamic. It's changing. Obviously, you can see this is not a site that's going to end very quickly. We still have police bomb squads together with the home front command using different technology and removing dangerous debris to find people believed to be injured or missing still underneath this rubble.
Why do you think people are still missing?
I believe, as you can see, that it's clear to see that they might be possibly underneath this rubble. Maybe the communication was lost between their loved ones. They haven't been able to make contact. This is still ongoing. It's still very dynamic, but this is what we've been preparing for to best service our civilians during this very difficult time where they've clearly been targeted by these terror rockets.
But the tensions certainly show no signs of coming down. We'll have to see how this shapes up in the days ahead. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5 as we return with the latest news and updates.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Tensions between Israel and Iran escalate. The Jammu and Kashmir government has also set up 24/7 control rooms to assist distraught families. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah on Sunday spoke to External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar over safety of the Kashmiri students. The Chief Minister said that the External Affairs Minister had assured him that the ministry is in close contact with their counterparts in Iran and will take all necessary steps for the safety and well-being of students in the country. With around 1,300 Kashmiri students enrolled in Iranian institutions, their families are making urgent appeals for evacuation. The Congress, in the meanwhile, has called the Ministry of External Affairs to implement a coordinated evacuation plan to bring students home safely. Listen in.
मैं पहले वीडियो में भी ये जिक्र कर चुकी हूँ कि हमें एज सुन एज पॉसिबल इवैक्यूएट किया जाए बिकॉज एट दिस पॉइंट हमारे जो भाई हैं तेहरान यूनिवर्सिटी के जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनकी बॉयज डॉम के नज़दीक ही हमला हुआ है एंड दे हैव ऑल्सो बिन अफेक्टेड बाय द अटैक और कुछ जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो जख्मी भी हो गए हैं सो वो हालत हमारी भी ना हो जाए उससे पहले प्लीज हमें इवैक्यूएट कर दिया जाए क्योंकि इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे ना हमें वाटर सप्लाई है डॉम की ना नेट इंटरनेट इज वेरी वीक इंटरनेट बिल्कुल भी नहीं चल रहा है ना मैसेज जा रही है ना आ रही है ना प्रॉपर्ली कम्युनिकेट कर पा रहे हैं हम किसी से भी और ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट अभी शायद इलेक्ट्रिसिटी भी चली जाएगी और उसके बाद हमारा वाईफाई भी डाउन हो जाएगा जिसपे हम अभी थोड़ा बहुत इंटरनेट चला रहे हैं और उसके बाद हम शायद बिल्कुल भी कम्युनिकेट ना कर पाए
अच्छा जी, इस वक्त क्या हालात है तेहरान में और ईरान के और हिस्सों में? भारतीय मूल के लोग बताए जा रहे हैं कि उनको इंडियन एम्बेसी ने एक जगह आने को कहा है और वहां से कुछ इवैक्यूएशन की बात की जा रही है, नॉर्थ की तरफ लेके जा रहे हैं। जरा उस बारे में बताइए, और पिछले 2-3 दिनों में जो कुछ हुआ है उस बारे में थोड़ा बताइए।
हाँ, 2-3 दिन से तो अटैक चल रहे हैं। 2 दिन पहले रात में 3:30 बजे से अटैक चालू हुआ है इजराइल का ईरान पे, और अभी तक अटैक कंटिन्यू चल रहा है। दोनों साइड से अलग अलग सिटीज में है, क्योंकि मेरे सारे दोस्त भी हैं बहुत सारे जो इस्फहान में हैं, मशहद में हैं, उरूमिया में है, तबरीज और केरमान वगैरह में है, तो वहाँ भी अटैक कंटिन्यू हो रहा है। एम्बेसी कोऑपरेट कर रही है। आज से एम्बेसी ने कहा है कि हम लोग सोल्यूशन निकालेंगे, और कुछ बच्चों को मेडिकल वाले से अलग, जिसमें मैं नॉन मेडिकल बैकग्राउंड से, मैं लिटरेचर बैकग्राउंड से, तो हम लोग का आज कल बोल रहे हैं कि 5 बजे मॉर्निंग में एक स्पेसिफिक जगह पे पहुंचने के लिए, तो देखते हैं कल वहाँ पहुँच के कि उन लोगों का क्या प्लान है। अभी तक कोई ऐसा डिटेल नहीं बताया, बस बताया कि वहाँ पे जाने के लिए पाल के जा रहे हैं।
तो सिर्फ तेहरान में पढ़ रहे बच्चों के लिए कहा गया है, पूरे ईरान में जो बच्चे हैं उन सबको कहा गया है?
नहीं, पूरे ईरान में बच्चों से, स्टूडेंट्स से स्पेशली, क्योंकि अभी और लोगों को नहीं हेल्प हो रहा है, सिर्फ अभी स्टूडेंट को हेल्प कर रही है अराउंड द ईरान। पूरे यूनिवर्सिटी से सारे से ग्रुप बनाया गया है।
Welcome back. Staying with our focus on the Israel-Iran conflict, and concerns are now mounting over the safety of Indian students in Iran as an attack at Tehran University left 2 Kashmiri students injured. Both are stable and have been relocated to Ramsar for safety. And as tensions between Israel and Iran are escalating, the Jammu and Kashmir government has set up control rooms to assist families. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has spoken with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar over the safety of Kashmiri students. Omar Abdullah has said that Dr. Jaishankar has assured that the Ministry of External Affairs remains in close contact with counterparts in Iran and will take all necessary steps for the safety of these students. There are about 1,300 Kashmiri students enrolled in Iranian institutions, and their families are making urgent appeals for evacuation. The Congress has called on the central government to implement an evacuation plan. Also, CNN News 18 spoke to the family of 2 Kashmiri students in Iran. Sohail Qadri's family has described the past 4 days as traumatic, hearing blasts during calls with their children at Iran University of Medical Sciences. Ishan Vani brings you. In fact, let's quickly go across to Siddhant Mishra, who's currently in conversation with one of the IDF spokespersons.
Joining me now is Brigadier General F.E. Defrin. Sir, thank you so much for finding out time to do this interview. My first question to you is, explain your background, because what I could see is that this particular site has been hit by Iranian missile, and there has been a mass scale destruction which has taken place in a civilian area. Now, I don't know more about this particular area. Could you please explain it to our viewers that when this area was struck by Iranian missile, and how many casualties, how many are injured?
Well, thank you very much for having me. At the outset, let me say namaste and thank you for having me. I take pride taking this interview with you. I lived 4 years in India as a defense attaché, and I'm an alumni of the National Defense College in New Delhi. I lived there for 4 years almost. I have lots of friends all over India. So thank you for having me. I also take pride with our relations with India, strategic ally, and I'm very happy about that. Now, let me tell you about what you see behind me. You see the destruction. This is the results of a vicious Iranian attack on Tel Aviv. They've been attacking Israel with several salvos. I'm talking about dozens of missiles, ballistic missiles launched at Israel in the last three days. They have caused destruction. I must say that we have very good air defense systems. I think it's cutting edge of technology. And most of those missiles are being intercepted, but some of them, very small numbers, are being hit. You know, this is the statistic, over 90% success, but some of them penetrating our skies. Unfortunately, we have casualties in the last 3 days, and many people wounded. But we will prevail, because I must explain to you and the Indian viewers, our friends, what Iran means for us. Iran, the Iranian regime, is a vicious, very cruel, brutal regime who is being distributing terror all over this place. They are launching terror attacks all over Israel. They've been spreading terror to Hamas in Gaza. They've been building this Hezbollah in Lebanon, arming it and training it. And also on other places around us. There is no one place around this region where Hezbollah or where Iran is involved and it is stable. They are destabilizing all over the region. Now we have reached a point in time in which they have became very close to reaching a nuclear bomb. They have been reaching uranium to the level that it's only a matter of days that from decision that they can build almost 15 warheads of nuclear warheads. In addition to that, they are building ballistic missiles, thousands of them, and they are aiming to double and triple them in the last few months, in the months to come or years to come, which means that we will have to live with this existential threat over our heads. You see the results of only one missile. Can you imagine what would have happened?
Can you give some more details about this particular site? How many casualties at this particular site? How many injured? And whether the civilians live here? Talk to us a little bit about this locality without giving the exact description of the locality, exact details about the location.
Of course, sir. Of course, I will. What you see behind me is a site where one ballistic missile penetrated our air defense systems. It's one of many that were launched and were intercepted. But you can see what one ballistic missile did to an apartment building. Well, the Israeli people, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know what to say, they are trained with this kind of attacks. So they know what to do. We have a safe room in every one of these apartments in which relatively those people are secured. We have 8 people. We lost 8 people, some of them in Haifa and some of them here in Tel Aviv, unfortunately. Over 100 wounded. This is the results of the Iranian attack. But, sir, I must say we will prevail. Good will prevail. Justice will prevail. Because we are not aiming at, we have nothing with the Iranian people. It's a country with heritage, with pride, and we have no war with the Iranian people. We are fighting this cruel Iranian regime who spreads terror and torturing his own people, not only his neighboring countries.
Brigadier General also would like to know, in fact, there's a lot of curiosity here in India. Is Haifa port safe? Did Iranians try to attack Haifa port last night?
Well, the Iranians are aiming to target Israeli infrastructure. This is the difference between us and them. They are aiming at civilians in very populated areas like Haifa and here in Tel Aviv. We are aiming at military targets only. And they are hiding. They are hiding like cowards behind people, using people as human shields in Tehran and in Isfahan, all over Iran. And we will prevail. We will hit them. Israel is a relatively safe place. If you come, I beg you to come and visit us.
Yeah.
Once in a while, we have conflicts like this. We are launched this campaign in order to make Israel even safer. And we will prevail, as I said. Haifa port.
So Haifa port is safe?
Of course, sir.
Okay. Now, Brigadier General, this question is related to my people, Indians in Iran. Now, people from many nationalities are stranded in Iran, including Indians. In fact, Indian government is planning to evacuate them. Can we expect support from our Israeli friends in carrying out evacuations? Can we expect Israel to help India create a green channel, perhaps so that these Indian students can safely be evacuated through Armenia, through UAE?
So yeah, you didn't mention the Indian expats in Israel, sir. We have very big community.
Yeah.
Jewish Indians who take very big pride in their in their past, and they are very proud of being Indians. And they are under risk here in Israel as well from this Iranian threat.
Yes.
Talking about the Indian citizens in Iran, we will do our best not to hit, to prevent or to avoid collateral damage as much as we can. The Iranian people are not our enemy. I must emphasize it. We are fighting this evil regime who is torturing his own people. And I wish every Indian citizen and every innocent citizen in Iran will be safe.
Sir, also, yesterday we got reports that Iran attempted to hit residence of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you have something to say on that?
Well, there is a lot of fake news spread all over the media. And they are being spreading, AI video clips and things like that. This is the weapon they are using. They are terrorizing our brains and also launching missiles. I would say, don't believe everything they say. They are trying to target many things. I cannot, of course, elaborate more on that because I will expose ourselves to them.
Okay.
But we are now, as we speak, we are acting with the Israeli.
In more breaking inputs with regards to the Financial Action Task Force, in fact, top sources telling CNN News 18 another letter has been written to FATF to ensure Pak is grey listed. Comprehensive list of terror funding to be released soon by the FATF. This is the third letter, and FATF meeting is going to be taking place in autumn. Another dossier has been prepared with updated facts showing links to Hamas and Pakistan. Pallavi Ghosh joins me with more inputs on that news story. And before we go to Pallavi, what we can tell you is that this is the big breaking input we are bringing to you after FATF not just condemned the Pahalgam terror attack, but has also exposed how there could be terror funding behind the Pahalgam terror attack of 22nd of April. And now what we are learning is that another letter has been written to the Financial Action Task Force to ensure that Pakistan is grey listed yet again. And a comprehensive list of terror funding will be released soon by FATF. Remember, India has been making consistent efforts on the global stage to bring Pakistan back on the grey list. This also includes India's multi-party delegations, which had been not just going out there to spread India's narrative, but also been reaching out to these global institutions as well. Pallavi joins me with more inputs. Pallavi, share with us what you are learning with regards to this new dossier that's being prepared.
Well, India has certainly been making the very big point, Akanksha, is that the FATF must insist that Pakistan should be put on the grey list, which essentially is that a benchmark of a grey listing or listing by FATF is about money laundering, how the money is being diverted, and in this case, it is about terror financing. In fact, the FATF itself has decided to go in for a detailed accounting of how the money which has been accrued by Pakistan has actually been diverted into terror financing or not. While we are waiting for the FATF meeting to take place sometime in autumn, the dossier which has been presented and a third letter which has been written very clearly updated account of how there is hard evidence to show that any money which is going to be given to Pakistan, which has been given to Pakistan, and if you do not put Pakistan on the grey list, it essentially means that they're going to keep on getting money which is going to be used for terror funding. And the recent example, of course, of the Pahalgam terror attack, the past terror attacks which links in India linked to Pakistan, but more importantly, of course, how there has been an over 20% increase in the defense budget of Pakistan. It's no coincidence. It's happened at a time when the IMF dole out to Pakistan has happened. IMF gives money and funds for infrastructural development. That has not been used for that. So India has made the point of dossier that once again, you strike them off the grey list, they are going to get money, and that money is going to be used to fund terror activities, which has its links not just to India, but also is being used against many of the developed countries, both in America as well as in Europe.
Many thanks to you, Pallavi, for bringing us those breaking inputs. More breaking news stories coming in. This is with regards to the Rapido assault incident. In fact, CCTV footage from the incident now showing the woman assaulting the Rapido rider first. Some very significant piece of evidence coming out of the CCTV footage, which in fact goes on to show that in this entire assault incident of Rapido, the CCTV footage indicating that the woman assaulted the Rapido rider first. Major piece of evidence, in fact, coming out through that CCTV footage. What we can tell you is that it shows the woman assaulting the Rapido rider first, and this could in fact mean significant sort of change for the entire ongoing investigation as far as the entire Rapido assault incident is concerned. Those are the latest CCTV footage that we're bringing to you, the scenes from that entire incident, as you can see, showing how that assault actually began. And as you can see in these visuals, the woman can be seen assaulting the rider first, and that perhaps also implicates the woman if she was the first one to be assaulting this Rapido rider first. So that joins me with more inputs. So that what could this piece of CCTV footage now mean for the ongoing investigation? So that, can you hear me? All right, that's all we have for you, in fact, in this entire broadcast. But what we can tell you, some crucial piece of evidence emerging out of that CCTV footage as far as the Rapido rider case is concerned. That's all I have for you on Nation at 5. Up next is Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The cockpit voice recorder from the ill-fated Air India flight has now been recovered, and with it, investigations have gained full steam to piece together the reasons for this massive tragedy. Investigators are preparing to study the pilot's last words for clues as to the cause of the crash. A mayday call was sent by the flight captain, we know that much, seconds after the plane